Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today we're going to be making a quilt pattern called Spice Cake. This uses 10-inch squares and it's very, very easy. So let's get started. There are lots of patterns that are written for 10-inch squares. They're known as layer cakes. Hoffman Fabrics has some, that's what we're going to be using today. And Hoffman calls theirs bolly crackers. But it's a variety of 10-inch squares. So we're going to open this package and see what they look like. Now these are batiks. I think the pattern is showing some old-fashioned looking fabrics there, but we're going to use batiks if I can only get the package open there. And these are all 10 inches and they're all folded, but we can still get a pretty good idea of what they look like. So each one of these is just a beautiful batik. This color is called Sparrow. First thing I'm going to do is pick out the prints that I'm going to use. There's 40 in here, but I don't need quite 40, and I'm probably not going to use these plain ones. So I'm going to make a nice group of colors, and I'm probably also not going to use these really green ones in the quilt that I'm doing. So I'm going to go through the whole stack and say yes, no, yes, no. I might use that one. So I'm going to use 24 blocks. So I'm going to pick those out right now. Probably not using the plains and probably not using the green ones, but using all of these beautiful browns and burgundies. Here are the 24 prints that I'm going to use. So I've got a nice coordinated selection. And now we can take these and pick out our accent colors. So if you see the little star here, we need 2 light accent colors, and one of them is also going to be used in a border. And then we're going to need a larger outside border. So let's take these down to the shop, and maybe we'll get Matt to help us, and we'll pick out those other colors.
Okay.
And then outer border.
Okay.
And I would like to use these plainer ones.
Oh, I got it.
First, I need something dark.
Oh, I got some purples and stuff here. This looks like a natural with that, Donna. Oh,
yeah.
You like that?
Oh, yeah, that's the perfect
It picks
color.
it up pretty nice.
Yeah.
I think that'll pop on the border.
I would like that
Okay.
much better than a brown.
Beautiful.
Okay, then these stars here,
Oh, interesting.
2 tones,
Okay.
2 light ones. They have to be light enough to have a little contrast with all of these
There's a little
guys.
section. Well, what do you like? What do you like up there?
So I'm thinking, you know, like a light,
Let's take a look. This one? Okay.
yeah, maybe that one.
Okay. I got
Does
that.
it look too yellow?
I don't know. Was there any others? I mean, that you...
Maybe, oh, what about this one?
That's better.
It's got a little more going
Definitely
on.
better.
Okay.
And it's a little more brown gold
Yeah.
as opposed to so yellow.
And then
which is better.
something a little darker than this. So
Okay. Well,
I'm
this
thinking
this
that one
nice, yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it. I mean, it just kind of, you held it up there. And
Yeah,
looks,
and
that's
see
very
there's
nice.
enough contrast.
Very nice.
Perfect.
That'll be nice in
That'll
there.
do it.
Love
All
it.
right.
Nice job, Don.
First step is to iron our 10-inch squares nice and flat. Hoffman packages theirs folded up. So I like to have them really flat before I start sewing. So I'm going to just give these a quick pressing. You can steam them if you need to. And then I am going to iron my background and border fabrics and check the pattern for the sizes we need and get those pieces cut. These are all the pieces we need for the quilt. Now I can't give you all the exact sizes because this is not my pattern, but they do have them very easy to understand, and here you can get your exact sizes. Once these rectangles are cut, we are going to draw on the back side of each one, and we're going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. So this is going to go from top left to bottom right on every single one. I'm just going to use a pencil and we're going to sew right on that line. So I'm going to draw on all of these and then we'll be ready to start sewing. All we have to do to make each block is sew a darker accent and a lighter accent on each corner. So I've taken this piece here and I'm going to stitch right along that line, and I've put the corner of that on the corner of the block, and I've moved this corner over, and you're moving it over the exact width of the strip. So if you place that right there, you might want to put a little pin down here so it doesn't move. And we're going to stitch right on the line, or a hair this side of it, a hair to the outside. Now, I'm on my new machine, and so it may take off really quick because I'm not quite used to it yet, and it's kind of like driving a new car. Whoa, there we go. So we're just going to do that for that side. Then I'm going to double check this one here. Make sure it's that amount over. And a pin really does help because this will move as you get this straight here and stitch right to the outside of that pencil. Now you can chain piece these if you want. So you can take, instead of doing it one block at a time, you can take this next piece, put it in position, and just do the whole stack just like this. Now we're going to iron the blocks. I like to iron them flat first. Then we are going to take this accent and we are just going to fold it over right along its seam line. And the corners should meet. Mine isn't perfect, but it's pretty close. And then iron that down. Same thing on the other accent. So I'm going to iron all of my blocks, and then we're going to trim off the extra. Now you'll notice here, mine isn't perfect, and that's because I should have sewn this slightly farther towards the outside of the line. So I notice that I get better as I go. That's why I like to make a few blocks and iron them, and then I can self-correct. This one looks good, this one's almost perfect, but I'll get a little better as I go. The last step is to trim off the excess. So I like to open this up, put my ruler a 1/4 inch away from that pencil line. So I've got my 1/4 inch line on the pencil line, and I'm just going to trim off that excess. So you can see we've got a 1/4 inch of seam allowance left here. Then when we fold that back over, you can either take your cutter and just trim off that little bit there, or you can actually line this all up on here and trim it that way. There's just a little teeny bit to get off there. So do that for every block. So we've got it ironed over. So I'm opening that back up, putting 1/4 inch marks on the pencil line, trimming that off, and then again, you can just take your blade and get that little bit if you want, or you can get the ruler back over there. Either way. So do that for all the blocks, and then I'll show you how to make the layout. Once you have your blocks done, this is all we have to do to make that nice star in the middle. We're going to put opposite colors there, the same color there in the opposite corners, and then we're going to put these ones here, and now we've got a star in the middle of the block. Very cool. So I'm going to stitch it both ways, then we'll iron it up and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to sew this, leave it on the machine and sew this, then we will open them up and sew the other way. It's really easy to get them together because we did hardly any piecing, so they're really, really stable and really exactly the same size. So I'm going to open these up, and I am going to put the seam allowances in opposite directions. So I'm going to put this seam allowance this way, and I'm just going to finger press it right now. Then this seam allowance is going to go that way. And that way, when I stitch this here, The seam allowances are going opposite directions and they will nest, and it's real easy to get them to match up. So that is all we have to do. Look at that nice little star in there. Really, really fun. So this is what you're going to do with all of your blocks. You're going to make these 4 blocks for your whole quilt, and that's all the patchwork we have to do. But I do have a little bonus square I'm going to show you how to make. We're going to make some cornerstones for our borders. To make the cornerstones, I need to make a pieced 5-inch block because that's how wide my outside border is going to be. So I need to make 4 mini blocks, just like the ones we just made, and they've got this little star thing on it. So I'm going to cut these 2 3/4, and I'm going to cut the little rectangles here 2.5 by 1 inch. So that's all I need here. 2 3/4 inch out of the burgundy, and 2.5 by 1 inch out of the accent colors. I need to make 4 cornerstones. I'm going to put 1 in each corner of the quilt. And for each cornerstone, you need 4 blocks. These are what you need. We need 2 with the light and 2 with the dark. And this is the only piece we have to sew on here. Again, we're going to iron these flat and then fold this over on its seam. And then we'll trim off the extra, just like we did with the big blocks. So these will fit together just like that. So we'll sew it and we'll have a very fast star for our cornerstone. Here's our cute little cornerstone with the little teeny star in it. So this is exactly 5 inches now, which is exactly as wide as my border is cut. So these cornerstones are going to go in these wide borders in each of the corners. So to make your borders fit, just measure your whole quilt, the width, and cut 2 borders that size. Measure the length, cut 2 borders that size, and then sew your cornerstones onto both ends of this border and both ends of that border. Sew these on. This will be exactly the right length, and that's just a nice little added touch to finish your quilt off very nicely. I'm going to finish mine up and get it quilted, and then I'll show you what it looks like. The quilt is all done, and you can see 2 secondary patterns when you look at it from far away. Here's those stars, but you can also see these 4 here make a windmill kind of effect. It has different things that you see when you look at it longer. It was really, really fun to make and really quick. I did a 2-inch inner border and that 5-inch outer border, and there's those cornerstones. Just a small touch, looks really, really good. Now, if you like making those little blocks, you could also put 3 or 4 of them in the middle here on every side. This is quilted with a fairly dense pattern called Chestnut Swirls. And I used another batik on the back side here that just echoes all the same colors. This is a Robert Kaufman batik. Really nice and florally because the top is not very flowery, but it's got hints of the burgundy and little bits of flowers here. Lots of wood grains and textures. Really, really a fun quilt and framed nicely with the almost solid batiks. I like to do that sometimes when we have a lot of pattern here. So the Spice Cake pattern from Cozy, it has 4 different sizes you can make, and that's one thing I like about their patterns. A really, really quick pattern, so if you need a fast project, this is a good one for you to do. Thanks for watching our video tutorial today. Happy quilting!